Am I the a-hole for believing my daughter over my boyfriend? Hello, everyone. Here in this disposable account, I have the following problem. I don't know if I watch too many crime shows or if I'm just being extremely paranoid, so I've come here to ask for advice. Here is why I think I might be the asshole. We have a good relationship. He loves my daughter, like she is his own. We split all shared bills, and we both pull our own weight around the apartment. We don't fight. He has never so much as raised his voice at me until very recently. We live paycheck to paycheck, but the bills are always paid on time, and on paper, everything seemed completely stable. Because of all this, part of me feels like I am jumping to extreme conclusions based on a series of weird occurrences. To give you some background, these odd incidents and accidents all happened before the main event over the span of about 6 months. It wasn't one thing right after another in a short period of time, so back then it was easy to brush each one off as a bizarre coincidence. Looking back now, the pattern is terrifying. The first strange incident happened in the bedroom. I have a severe allergy to latex, and it is something that can cause an immediate, life-threatening emergency for me. One day, we were about to engage in the horizontal tango, and everything felt completely normal. But as we were getting settled, I happened to glance over at the mirror we keep right by our bed. In the reflection, I saw the wrapper of the condom he was holding, and I instantly noticed the color was completely off. I stopped him right away and demanded to see it because it clearly wasn't latex-free. He quickly pulled back, shrugged it off, and said it was just an honest mistake, claiming it was just an older standard condom he happened to have lying around from before. We have been dating for over 2 years, and he knows down to the finest detail how serious and life-threatening my allergy is. I let it go at the time, but it sat uncomfortably in my head. Another very odd thing happened a couple of months after that. I was carrying a heavy basket of laundry down the staircase in our home. He was walking right behind me, following me down the steps. Out of nowhere, he kicked the back of my leg with a sharp force, causing my knee to buckle and sending me tumbling down the rest of the stairs. I bruised up pretty badly and was shaken up. When I asked him what happened, he apologized profusely and said he slipped on the step. But our stairs are smooth, bare wood, and he was wearing his heavy steel-toe work boots with thick rubber grips. At the time, I genuinely thought it was just an awkward, clumsy accident, even though the physics of him slipping in heavy boots and kicking forward into my leg made very little physical sense. Then came the soup incident last week, which completely flipped a switch in my mind. I made chicken gnocchi soup for dinner. The house smelled amazing, and as the soup was almost done simmering on the stove, I stepped away to start helping my daughter with a complex school project at the dining table. My daughter stepped into the kitchen to help out and dished out 2 warm bowls for us. She brought them over to the table so we could eat while working. Just a few seconds later, my boyfriend came running into the room holding a completely different bowl of soup. He set it down forcefully and insisted that I eat the specific bowl he had just brought out instead of the one my daughter served me. I was confused and told him it was all the exact same soup from the exact same pot, but he aggressively insisted, claiming he wanted my original bowl because it had more chicken in it. Thinking back now, I don't know how he would even know which bowl had more chicken, considering my daughter was the one who dished it out in the kitchen while he wasn't even watching. My daughter, being a polite kid, picked up the bowl he was trying to force on me and said she would just eat that one instead, so I could keep mine. The second her hand touched the bowl, he practically leaped forward, yanked it out of her hand and barked, "No, it's for Mom." The tension in the room spiked instantly. I took the bowl from him just to defuse the situation, and he turned around and walked out into the living room. I set the bowl down on the table, sat back down to continue working on my daughter's project, and quietly whispered to her not to touch or eat any of that soup. About 20 minutes later, after making sure he was occupied, I walked into the kitchen carrying the bowls to pour the soup straight down the drain. He was sitting at the counter still eating his own portion. He looked up, saw me dumping the food, and asked why neither of us ate any of ours. I quickly made up an excuse on the spot and said the cat got up on the table and got into it while we were waiting for it to cool down. The moment the words left my mouth, he stood up and screamed, "What? Was it your bowl? Cats can't eat that." I tried to calm him down and told him it was only a tiny lick, but ever since that moment, he has been extremely stressed out, watching the cat like a hawk, following it around the house, and acting completely obsessive over its every move. His over-the-top panic and reaction were beyond weird for a simple bowl of soup. That whole interaction made my stomach drop, and a terrible gut feeling took over. I decided I needed to check on my safety net. Since the soup incident, I realized my emergency money had gone missing. I keep a stash of cash hidden in the house, just in case of an absolute emergency. I lost my older sister years ago because she wasn't able to escape a dangerous, abusive situation in time, and I literally swore on her grave that I would never allow myself or my daughter to be trapped in a position where we couldn't get away. Because of that promise, I saved every spare dollar I could. It was hidden carefully, and I changed the secret location every few months so no one would ever stumble across it. After the soup incident, I went straight to my current hiding spot to grab the money, and the entire stash was gone. Panicking, I went to my daughter and gently asked her if maybe she had stumbled across it while cleaning or playing, telling her that even if she took it, I wouldn't be mad because I knew she couldn't have spent that kind of money. She looked at me confused and said no, she had no idea what I was talking about. A few hours later, my daughter came up to me privately. She told me she had forgotten about something, but remembered that the other day while she and my boyfriend were out running errands, they got pulled over by the police. She said that when he opened the glove box to grab the vehicle registration, she saw my distinct pink wallet sitting right inside his glove box. My heart stopped. I had never told her which wallet the emergency money was in, nor had I ever mentioned to her that the cash was stored inside a wallet at all. Armed with that knowledge, I decided to confront him as calmly as possible to ask if he had somehow found it by accident. When I brought up the missing money, he didn't even deny knowing about it. Instead, he looked at me with a cold smirk and asked why I was hiding such a large amount of money in the first place. Then he added, "You know you could never leave me," and let out a dry laugh. He had never said anything remotely like that to me in the entire 2 years we had been together. I was terrified, so I quickly lied to cover my tracks and told him the money was just savings I had put aside for my daughter's upcoming Christmas presents. He nonchalantly told me that no, he didn't find any money, but said I could just use his credit card to buy her gifts this year. I kept my mouth shut and didn't tell him that my daughter had literally seen my pink wallet sitting inside his car's glove box. Around this same time, while I was frantically searching every inch of my room for the missing cash, I realized another terrifying detail. My EpiPen, which I always keep in a specific drawer in my bedroom in case of an allergic emergency, was completely missing. I hadn't realized it was gone until I was tearing the room apart looking for the money. My mind was racing. Am I overthinking all of this? My anxiety has been at an all-time high, and I keep asking myself if I just watch too much true crime and am connecting dots that aren't there. I desperately thought about packing our things, taking my daughter to my mom's house for a few days, and asking him about the money once I was safely away from the apartment. But without my emergency cash, I didn't even have enough gas or funds to make the trip happen. My mom lives on a strict fixed income and simply doesn't have the financial ability to help us out or send money. I felt so stupid and pathetic for being terrified in my own home. Last night, unable to sleep, I decided to take a massive risk. I snuck outside while he was resting to check his car for my pink wallet, but mid-search, he caught me red-handed in the driveway. Trapped, I dropped the act and flat-out demanded my money back. He immediately tried playing dumb, acting like he had no idea what I was talking about. I looked him in the eye and told him my daughter saw the wallet right in his glove box. He instantly turned hostile and told me that she was outright lying. I fired back and pointed out that I had never once told my daughter about the hidden money or what kind of wallet it was kept in, so there was zero way she could have made that up. Cornered, he abandoned his innocent act entirely. He sneered at me and said he was a grown man, and that kids lie all the time for attention. I ignored his gaslighting and asked him strictly one more time to hand over my money. He looked at me with absolute control in his eyes and said, "I'm not giving you money to leave me." That was all the confirmation I needed. My heart was pounding out of my chest, but I knew I had to act normal to survive the night. I went back inside, waited until he went into the bathroom to take a shower, and the second I heard the water running, I grabbed my cat, grabbed my daughter, packed whatever essentials we could carry in 2 minutes, and we ran out the door. We had nowhere to go. I can't take my cat with us to a standard homeless shelter, and every single domestic violence shelter I called in the area is completely full. Using the absolute last bit of pocket change and small funds I had left on me, I was able to secure us a single night at a cheap, rundown motel on the edge of town. This exact nightmare situation is the entire reason I spent years saving that hidden emergency money. I did everything right to protect us. I followed my instincts, and now I'm completely screwed, sitting in a dark motel room with my child and my cat, wondering how we are going to survive tomorrow. I feel like I just completely blew up my entire life over a series of suspicions. Yes, I'm using a burner account and reading all the comments that I can. Update. My post got a lot of attention, but my account was shadow banned for a few days. I was able to appeal it and get my account back because I'm not a bot or some AI. Now for the update. The day after my daughter, my cat, and I left, he sent me a picture of my EpiPen. He tried to convince me that it had been sitting in my nightstand the entire time and that I must have somehow overlooked it. I tore that room apart when I first realized it was missing. I searched through everything, including places where it shouldn't even have been, so I know for 100% fact that it wasn't there when I left. He had it. That alone made me feel sick because it meant I hadn't imagined that something was wrong. He had taken something that I need for a serious allergy and then kept it from me. He still tried to convince me to come back, saying that I had scared myself and that I was watching too much true crime television. He acted like I had panicked over nothing and abandoned my entire life because I was paranoid. Something still didn't feel right, so I told him to put my money and my EpiPen in the mailbox. I didn't want to go back there alone, and I wasn't interested in having another argument with him. I just wanted my property, and to be left alone. We went back and forth for a while. He continued denying that he had my money, even though my daughter had seen my wallet in his glove box and I had never told her where I kept the money or what wallet it was in. I asked for it again, but he wouldn't give me a straight answer. Then he told me that if we were breaking up, my daughter and I were no longer allowed in his apartment and would be treated like trespassers. He also sent me a picture of his target practice sheets. I don't know what he intended by sending that picture, but considering everything that had already happened, it scared me. I wasn't going back there by myself. I went to the police about the missing money. Unfortunately, I was told that because of the circumstances, the money was considered a civil issue. I was extremely upset because that money was supposed to be my emergency fund. I had specifically saved it because I knew that if something ever happened, I might need to leave quickly. And that's exactly what happened. Since I still had belongings inside the apartment, I asked if I could get an escort to retrieve them. Yesterday, I finally went back with a police officer and my landlord. Walking into that apartment was awful. He had destroyed everything belonging to my daughter. Her things were damaged, and the laptop charger I used for work was ruined. My daughter's medication and backup medical supplies were also damaged. The EpiPen wasn't there either, despite him previously sending me a picture of it and claiming it had been in my nightstand. I don't know what happened to it after that. The landlord was actually very understanding and allowed me to get off the lease without paying an early termination fee. I'm extremely grateful for that because I don't have the money to pay an additional fee right now. The practical side of this is still a complete mess. Motels are expensive, and we don't have anywhere permanent to stay right now. The shelters are full, and I don't want to give up our cat just because we're in a terrible situation. My daughter and I are trying to figure out what comes next while dealing with everything that happens so quickly. I also want to say something about my daughter because a lot of people focused on the fact that I believed her. She didn't have any reason to make up the story about seeing my wallet in his glove box. I hadn't told her where I kept the money, and I hadn't told her what wallet it was in. When she mentioned seeing it, that was one of the things that made me realize I needed to take the situation seriously. I still don't know exactly what was in the soup, and I'm not going to claim that I know something I can't prove. But after everything else that happened, I don't regret leaving. I don't regret listening to my daughter either. I wish I had a better update. I wish I could say that we found our money, got our things back, and everything was suddenly okay. Unfortunately, that's not what happened. Right now, I'm dealing with finding somewhere safe and affordable for my daughter, my cat, and me, replacing what was destroyed, and trying to figure out how we're going to manage financially. I'm sorry this is a shitty update, but I know people wanted it. Update 2. This will be my final update because there is nothing anyone can do for us. A lot of people encouraged me to go back to the police station after my last update, so I decided to do exactly that. On Saturday, December 9th, I went back again. This time, I was much more prepared. I printed out the threatening text messages he had sent me, including the pictures of the target practice sheets. I explained everything in detail and went over the incidents that had seemed like accidents before, including the incident on the stairs and everything surrounding the soup. I explained why, after everything that had happened, I believed those incidents were connected and why I was genuinely afraid for my daughter and myself. I also had my landlord put everything in writing. After seeing what had happened and the condition of our belongings, my landlord agreed that there was enough reason to believe our lives could be in danger and allowed me to leave my lease early. I brought the damaged medical supplies and medications with me as well because I wanted the police to see exactly what had been destroyed. I thought that maybe this time, with the messages, the damaged belongings, the landlord's statement, and the entire timeline laid out clearly, something would finally happen. It didn't. The police told me they had already spoken to him, and according to them, he said he hadn't done any of it. He apparently told them that my daughter probably destroyed her own belongings because she is special edition. For clarification, my daughter has very mild Asperger's. She does not destroy her belongings, and there was absolutely no reason for me to believe she had suddenly decided to damage her own things. Hearing that he had apparently blamed her made me furious, especially because he knew exactly what condition her belongings were in. The police basically treated the situation as his word against mine. I was told that I didn't have proof that he stole the money. Technically, I couldn't prove the money had ever existed in the first place because it was emergency cash I had kept hidden. I explained why I had it and why I had never told him about it, but apparently that wasn't enough. As for the EpiPen, I was told that it was my responsibility and that they wouldn't do anything because it was considered lost. That was incredibly frustrating because he had literally sent me a picture of it after we left and tried to claim it had been sitting in my nightstand the entire time. I knew it hadn't been there because I had searched that room thoroughly before leaving. I was also basically told to let it go. The way the situation was handled made me feel like I was wasting their time with petty civil issues instead of reporting something that had genuinely frightened me enough to flee my home with my daughter and cat. I don't even know how to explain how defeated I feel. My daughter isn't going to have gifts for Christmas because the money I had saved has disappeared, and now I have to use whatever I can get together for a new apartment deposit. We've been staying in motels while I have been reaching out to domestic violence resources, but getting help has been extremely difficult. A lot of places require a restraining order or a police report before they can provide certain types of assistance. I don't have a restraining order. I don't have the kind of police report they're asking for. The resources I have contacted are also running out of funding or are already full. So I'm stuck trying to figure everything out while paying for a place to stay and trying to find permanent housing. My landlord actually offered me another unit across town, which I appreciate more than I can explain, but I can't afford to move into it right now. I need money for the deposit and everything else that comes with moving, and the emergency money I had specifically saved for something like this is gone. That is the part that hurts the most. I had that money because I knew something like this could happen. I had seen enough in my own family to know that having an emergency fund can be the difference between being able to leave and being trapped somewhere you don't feel safe. I thought I had done the responsible thing by keeping money aside where nobody else could get to it. And now I need that exact money, and it's gone. The worst part is that my ex gets to stay in the apartment and carry on with his life. As far as the police are concerned, there isn't enough evidence to do anything about what happened. There are no consequences for him, and there is no justice for us. I know some people are going to ask why I don't keep going back to the police or why I don't somehow prove everything. I have already done what I can with what I have. I reported the money. I showed them the messages. I brought the damaged belongings and medical supplies. I explained the incidents and the reasons I was afraid. My landlord supported my concerns in writing. They still told me there wasn't enough for them to act. I am still completely convinced that leaving was the right decision. I don't know exactly what he intended to do, and I can't prove every suspicion I have, but after everything that happened, there is no doubt in my mind that staying would have put my daughter and me in danger. I honestly believe he could have gotten away with my murder if we had stayed. I'm sorry this is such a terrible final update. I know a lot of people wanted to know what happened after the last post, and I wish I had something better to tell you. There was no dramatic arrest, no recovery of the money, and no justice waiting at the end of this. Nothing new happened. No justice. No repercussions for him. He gets to stay in the apartment. My daughter and I are out, and for now that has to be enough. I have to focus on finding somewhere we can afford and keeping us safe. This exact situation is why I had money stashed away in the first place, because no one has ever cared about me or us enough to guarantee that we would have somewhere to go, and I knew that. There is nothing else I can do. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Daily Tales Update.